Last year's winning essay is on the Moodle site, and for folks from the other class, I've put all of these documents that you have in front of you, plus this essay in TeacherShare, so that your teachers can put it on the Moodle site or wherever you need it to be. Okay? So this is last year's essay. I want to break it down and look at a couple things. First of all, if you look at the handout I have given you, that's the 2-pager, the one that's stapled, let's start with that. I need it. Okay, and folks who are joining us from the other class, we started number 1 yesterday, but I put this in here for your benefit. First of all, you've got to look and know everything there is to know about both the yes position and the no position on whichever one of the questions you're going to choose to respond to. Okay? Even if you're going to just take the yes position, you've got to know what the other arguments are against you. You have to, okay? That's whenever you're responding to a should or an argumentation style paper, you have to know both sides, okay? So I put that little table there for you. You can use that. You can use a piece of paper, whatever you want. You've got to look at that stuff and check out the court cases obviously provided by the lawyers. Okay, we're going to get into step number 2 and looking at Emily's essay from last year. You take your 2 or 3 best arguments. So the question was, should judges be called into Congress about their rulings and be subject to review? And she said absolutely not. That's her position. So she lays out right here in her introduction a nice case for why she feels that way. You have to be very clear with your thesis statement, okay? She starts out with a nice lead-in, Constitution, most significant document, okay, blah, blah, blah. Right here is where her thesis is. Therefore, the U.S. Constitution should not be permitted to use its subpoena power to compel a judge to appear before them to answer questions about a ruling that a judge made. It would violate laws set in place by the Constitution, shift the balance of power. So this is her 2-sentence thesis statement. You need to make sure you have a very strong thesis statement as well that references the question you're being asked. Okay? Any questions about that? And one thing I would have said about this, I think this introduction is a little on the dry side. It's very well written, it's very professional, but anytime you can grab your reader with a little more voice and some more impact, the better, in my opinion. Okay, let's move on to the next. So she starts right out with that evidence, okay? This cannot just be an opinion piece by you. It can't just be because I think so, okay? There has to be support and logic. Also, though, with that, it can't just be the supports. Well, because of this court case, la 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 la. They want you to take that evidence and analyze it and think about it and discuss it, okay? And so that's what's key here. So let's take a look at what she does. In Article 3, Section 2, clauses whatever of the Constitution, the judicial branch is given power to make decisions. So she lays out what it says, okay? That's a fact, okay? Now she gets into this, that they have the power and it's undisputable, okay? Then she uses the case of Marbury versus Madison to support. Now, look where she starts her thinking. Now she starts her analysis of it, okay? It's a twofold situation. We've got the facts. Now we've got to get to, this case was an important example to show future judges how to demonstrate the power of the judicial branch while staying committed to the Constitution. Then she takes on a scenario. If the reverse were to happen, look what would happen. This would be bad. It violates the Constitution. She's thinking it out. She's discussing it. You got to have that. Got to have that critical thinking piece. Okay? Questions about that? Okay. Counter-refutation, number 3 on your paper. I ask you, what argument is the strongest for the opposition, and how can you argue against it? This is a really great debate strategy. I don't know how many of you are thinking about going on to debate, but you obviously have to be able to shoot down the opposition's argument. You are going to be asked to do that in this essay. Okay? For my students, it's an absolute must. I assume Mrs. Childs will probably ask the same thing of the rest of you. In this way, you actually develop an even stronger case because you take whatever your opposition's strongest argument is and turn it on its ear and say, you know, They might be saying this, but that's really not how it works, okay? What you really need to know is this, okay? So you're putting some spin on it. So, she transitions, and you've got to have a good transition right here. She says, some might suggest that giving Congress the ability to reevaluate decisions made in court would be beneficial to U.S. citizens, as it would be another opinion analyzing their case. And then she goes on to shoot it down. However, this check would only diminish the value of the judicial branch, simultaneously empowering the legislative branch. And she spends quite a bit of time then taking that and saying, no, that's not the best way. This is why it's not the best, and getting back to her point. Okay? So you have to do that. That's going to be the paragraph prior to your conclusion. So you will lay out your case, you will acknowledge the opposition's case, refute it, shoot it down, if you will, and then conclude. Okay, questions about that? I give you an example of a counter-refutation beyond this. In here, if you look at it, I say, some will argue that, and I just picked this one because guns are so easy to debate because it's so this side or that side, it's just easy to, so anyways, that's why I just wrote this up quick. Some will argue that regulating gun ownership is a violation of our Second Amendment rights. However, nothing could be further from the truth. So now I'm saying, this is the argument some will say, I'm saying, Our founding fathers never envisioned a world in which your neighbor could own an assault rifle that cuts down hundreds of people in a matter of seconds. In fact, they added the Second Amendment to level the playing field, so militia and government could not abuse their power as they had during the Revolutionary War. Without gun regulation in today's world, the scales are once again unbalanced in favor of those who want weapons that serve no purpose other than killing many people. So, you've got to take in their argument, lay it out, and then say, it's not a valid argument, here's why, and reiterate your point. So look how I write, it's not the truth, I develop the argument for why it's not, and then I say, I make sure to point out again how harmful their opinion or their premise actually is. Okay? So, that's basically what you've got to do in that paragraph. Conclusion is that time to really come home and ring through on an essay like this. Okay? What I see a lot in this age group in conclusions is restating your thesis exactly as you have written it with your main arguments and signing off, okay? You got to step it up on the conclusion in an essay like this, okay? Yes, you definitely want to come back to your major point, but you need to say it in a different way. You definitely need to have strong voice in there, okay? You need to leave your reader with something to think about, okay? So maybe that reference again to our civic whatever or our Constitution, it just depends on which question you're picking, but you want to leave them with something powerful to think about. And so, where'd I go? I lost it. All the way to the end. Am I going to the beginning?
Yeah.
It's the mirror effect. Sorry. Okay. The foundation of the United States lies within its Constitution, so it should never become a practice for one branch to overstep its boundaries and therefore defy the Constitution. If a judge makes a decision in court, it was his to make, for it was his or her job. Once Congress is allowed to step in and question these things, the power of that branch will fall, the power of the other will rise. For these reasons, they should not be allowed to use its subpoena power to question judges, okay? Making sure you come right back in with your position, okay? You can probably stop that.